Welcome to Tripping Through Transformation, Episode 2. This is The Power of Belief, my interview with Ian Hill. Ian is an award-winning humanitarian. He is a world record breaker. He is a professional development pioneer, and he also happens to be the founder and CEO of NGBN. Earlier today, I had the chance to sit down with him and kind of go through his journey from his really unique upbringing in Iran and his journey to America. And to what led him to wanting to be the oldest man to play NCAA football, for the purpose of bringing awareness to men's mental health and suicide rates. Why did you want to start NGBN? I got to the bottom of those questions, and I also went over our journey that he and I have been on together for this past year and a half. Ian kind of was a mysterious appearance in my life, and he's inspired me to do better for this past year and a half. So, I just wanted to go over that journey with him and ask him a few questions. So I hope you guys find that very interesting. As I said in my first episode, every week I want to highlight a beat from my friend Balance. Last week's beat was kind of a mysterious beat. I thought it was fitting for the episode because what the hell was Tripping Through Transformation. This week's beat is also fitting in that it sounds kind of like a newscast beat. It's kind of upbeat. So without further ado, let's get to my interview with Ian, and Balance, drop that beat.
Balance makes it bang.
Welcome to Tripping Through Transformation. We have with us today a special guest, Ian Hill. Ian, welcome to the show.
Hey, Guy, I'm so excited to be on your show, and congratulations on launching Tripping Through Transformation. I'm really, really excited about it being on the NGBN network.
Yeah, and I'm happy to have you on as my first guest. You're self-called nomad, so where are you in North America today?
Well, today I'm in Calgary, Alberta, Canada. I'm here recovering from an injury that I sustained as I attempted to play college football. I have a neck impingement and a tear in my rotator cuff. So if you see me move like Frankenstein, it's because I can't move my neck. And so I'm here with my fiance Jenna, and recovering and rehabbing as I get ready to go to the National Scouting Combine in January.
Right. Yeah. In your most recent pics, I've always noticed the Calgary Tower in the background, so I knew that you were in Alberta. I've known you for about a year, and I've gotten to know over this period of time that you have a special relationship with Alberta. Like you talk a lot about Alberta. So how'd that come to be? Because I know your home base is in Nevada, right?
Yeah, in the States, and I've had a company in Canada for about 22 years, and we were home based out of Oshawa, Ontario.
Okay.
But Canada changed me as a man. I'm a better man because of Canada, and it impacted me in deep and significant ways. And I felt like I had to give back to Canada. So we started our Let Them Be Kids initiative, and we were able to help build 168 playgrounds and skate parks and fitness parks all across Canada, from Clarenville, Newfoundland to Port Alberni, BC, from Hay River, the Northwest Territory, all the way down to Crystal Beach, Ontario, and all points in between. Guy, all of those playgrounds, skate parks, and fitness parks honor fallen Canadian soldiers or fallen RCMP officers or first responders. And we were proud that after the first 2 years, Kool-Aid came on board, Craft Canada, and joined us. And tens of thousands of Canadians came out and built those playgrounds and skate parks. And in Alberta specifically, we donated probably 28. So yeah, we have a special relationship with Canada, and we have a special relationship with Alberta.
Yeah, I can see that. That's great. You're really building communities and providing for deserving children. I think you kind of actually answered my next question, which was, you know, I've heard you say before that you've done things that have never been done in the past. I
Yeah.
know about you breaking the record for having the longest speech, and I know about your attempt. I know about your attempt to become, the oldest man to play NCAA football. Um, what's another thing that you've done in the past that had never been done before?
Well, we were able to open Nevada's first charter school. For those of you that are listening in the United States, if you're familiar with the charter school movement or legislation, we opened Nevada's first charter school. And then we opened the first ever elementary school for transitional families, or as some people refer, homeless families. That school, the Bailey Elementary School, and the Sabayan Recreation and Youth Center, the Project Solution Community Complex, was really the first of its kind in North America, where we built something specifically for families in transition. Or maybe, another was our Becoming a Community Builder program that we launched all across Alberta to really revitalize and re-energize rural communities in rural Alberta. So yeah, I've been fortunate to be involved with 8 things that have never been done before. I think that just means I'm too stupid to know what can't be done. I think that's the only, I think that's the only asset that I really have. And now, and this is something we're both involved in, and now we're launching a first ever television network for men in their 40s, 50s, and 60s.
Yeah.
And that along with the football attempt, Season to Save a Life, is really about impacting men who are in their middle ages and who are 70% more likely to attempt and succumb to suicide than any other segment of the population. And you and me and so many others want to do something about that. And I guess the one thing I would say about all these things that have never been done, that we've either attempted or successfully completed, is we just won't be restricted by time and space. People are hurting, then we get up and do something about it. If people are broken and hopeless, then it takes somebody to step out and create forward momentum. And I've always found that as soon as somebody creates forward momentum, others join.
Yeah.
And the next thing you know, things are getting solved and there's hope again.
Yeah. Well, you're definitely doing a good job at creating change in the world. One of the earlier things I said to you when we first connected was that I wanted to meet you organically. I didn't want to go on social media and Google you and all these things. And it's always interesting to learn new things when we have these interactions. I was wondering, could we kind of go over your story from, where you're at today with, bringing awareness to men's mental health and trying to break the record to be the oldest men to play football and creating NGBN. And from where that started, from your story back in Iran, like I've kind of gotten bits and pieces of your story, your whole life. I've heard about your story about your struggling at school and being on the short bus and all that stuff. But could I get kind of like the full picture from you?
Sure. I was fortunate to be taken out of Iran as an infant by a United States Air Force family, the Hill family. I don't mean to be stereotypical, but I don't look like Ian Andrew Hill, right? I don't look like an Ian Andrew Hill. And that's because I was actually purchased on the black market. Legend has it, I guess, for 2 cases of scotch, good scotch. And my family, my official on paper family, is not really my family, not my biological family. They actually purchased me, and an Iranian doctor made a switch in a hospital in Tehran, Iran, and I'm the son of an Iranian woman. But that's not what it says on paper. On paper, it says I'm a United States citizen born abroad. And the Hill family then took me from Iran, and eventually we made our way back to the United States. And I grew up as an Air Force brat. But that wasn't my reality. My reality is that I was Iranian, but no one knew, unless you looked at my father, who was 6'3", red hair and freckles, and I didn't look like that. Right. And although he was a decorated Air Force senior master sergeant, he just wasn't necessarily equipped as a father. And I went through a period of sexual abuse and I went through the period of physical abuse, and I went through a period of not having a home, living from home to home. I didn't learn how to read till I was about 17, and like many in our society today, I suffered a challenging childhood for sure. That's not unique to me,
Mm.
but those of us that suffer that kind or endure that kind of a childhood, we have definite trauma and we have definite scars. And so I was definitely challenged for sure. I was lucky that I had coaches and I had teachers and I had recreation professionals that cared for me and made sure that I was had a place to sleep or made sure that I had clothes or food or made sure I had. And I had family of friends. I had many of my friends' families let me live at their home and sleep in their homes and made sure that I was cared for and made sure I had Christmas and Thanksgiving. It was not an easy childhood, but it provided for me two things, Guy. One, I knew what it felt like to hurt. That was important. Those schools and all those playgrounds were a direct result of hurting as a child, like hurting.
Mm.
And without that pain of loneliness, of being misunderstood, of not fitting in, of not having an identity, of being a nobody, being in the special classes, all of that instilled in me that I didn't want anyone else to go through that.
Right.
So when I had the opportunity, then you open the schools, or then you build the playgrounds. I had,
So
go ahead.
I was just gonna say, so what does that look like though? Because you said this is not something that's unique to you or me. Like a lot of people suffer, but what makes Ian Hill want to help others and open schools and create NGBN and become a speaker and all these things?
You know, I think initially, Guy, if we're being honest, and you and before said we were going to be honest.
Yeah.
I think if we're being honest, a lot of it was initially was a strive for significance, proving that I could be somebody, proving to myself and to others that I had worth and value. So I think initially it was about trying to be somebody. But over time, as I matured and I grew and I started to realize that I didn't need that external validation, it then became about lightening the burden of my fellow man. And it became about trying to leave the planet better than I found it. And that was what was going to define me as a human being. I might not know my parents. I might not know my lineage. I might not know where I came from in that sense. But at least I could leave a legacy and I could leave a mark from my time on the planet. And that was the driving force, was to take the time that I had spent here and it be worthwhile.
Yeah. Well, I think that's a great cause, and I think it's a perfect spot for us to take a break for a commercial. And when we come back, we'll talk a little bit more about our journey and what we're doing with NGBN. So thank you. Welcome back to Tripping Through Transformation. So before the break, I was just talking to Ian about his journey, basically from his childhood to where we're at today with NGBN and bringing awareness to men's mental health. I wanted to talk a little bit about our journey together, Ian, kind of how you appeared into my life and what the last year and a half has been like and what we're building together now and how we're going to move forward. So for me, you just appeared as a LinkedIn invitation, right? That's, to me, that's who Ian Hill was initially. I didn't know who the hell this guy was, didn't know anything about him before. Just he wants to connect on LinkedIn. What the hell does he want, right? So I've always wondered, what the hell did you want, Ian Hill? Like what prompted you to connect with me?
Well, maybe you don't remember, But you bounced on my profile and made a comment about the football journey.
Yeah, but
This
that
is how
came
I remember
after.
it.
That came after,
Did
Ian.
it?
So yeah,
How
that
did?
came after.
Well, to be honest, this is what happens when you're 57 years old, Guy. I don't remember what prompted me to send a note. I thought it was because you had made a comment and then I commented. But either way, as I remember it, and gosh, it's only been a year and a half. You think I'd remember it? But
Yeah.
as I remember it, you made a comment, and I thought to myself, who is this guy? Like, what is this guy about? And so I invited you to have a phone conversation.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then we had a phone conversation. And for your audience, Guy told me about a dream that he had, a vision that he had to create a facility, to create a program, to create a social profit endeavor that would impact people's lives. And if we're being honest, it really sounded like some of the stuff I was just talking about before the commercial break. He had gone through life experience. He had gone through difficulty and trials and tribulations. And so he wanted to make sure others didn't go through the same. So he wanted to create a program and a facility that would assist those that maybe had gone through some of the things that he had gone through. And I remember just saying to you, yeah, I believe in that. Let's get it. Let's go get it. Let's go make it happen. Let's go get it done. And I said that I would try to help if I could. And that began a friendship, what I would call a friendship.
Yeah, well, that's just it. So the reason why I called this episode, the power of a belief, is because to me, you're just kind of like this alien that comes out of the sky out of nowhere, being like, "Hey, man, what's going on?" And yeah, when you sent that invitation, I was curious about who you were. So I went on your profile and I saw a video, and there you were sitting in your car, right? And you were talking about you were training at the time to break the record or to become to be recruited or what have you. I'm not very good with sports, so bear with me. But yeah, but then you were telling your reason why you were doing it, right? And you were bringing awareness to men's mental health and suicide prevention and things like that. And I mean, a year and a half ago, I just relocated from Alberta to British Columbia. I had a lot of things going on, and I just figured, this guy's doing what I want to be doing. So yes, I left a comment on your video saying, I don't know anything about you other than this video, but
That's right. That's right.
I feel like there's a lot you could teach me, or there's a lot I could learn from you. And then, yeah, then you're like, all right, man, here's my number. Let's have a virtual Timmy's and double. And then you ask me, what's your vision? What's your dream? And you listen to me. And then you're like, send me an email. And I threw everything at you at the time, like anything that was going through my head, the building I wanted to buy, the lighting I wanted to, partner up with, everything. I was just like, I don't know what to do with this, but here you go, man. And you're like, yeah, I'll do whatever I can to help you. And sure enough, for the last year and a half, I've taken some of your workshop. I did your public speaking. I did, surviving to thriving. And yeah, I've grown as a person, really in part thanks to a stranger just being like, hey man, what are you up to? Yeah, I can vibe with that. I support you, so here you go. That's a huge gesture, right? To come from somebody I'd never met in my life.
I think, Guy, I'll tell you why. I saw a guy with vision, and that if his vision were to become a reality, he would truly transform lives. Your vision was salient. It was impactful. It brought to fruition. And don't we have a moral obligation to help people that are doing things that would change the world? And you did participate in all those things. And one of the things that you don't know is this hasn't been a one-way street. You don't know, when you sent me notes, texts, and to your audience, Guy never sends a short text, okay? This boy is always a boy. This boy is always sending a book of a text, right? Yeah. And it's always well thought out. It's a line of consciousness. It's well articulated. But what Guy doesn't know, and what I'm revealing for the first time, is how many of those notes of encouragement, of support, of belief that he sent to me were in the time of my most need.
Mm.
Unexplainable, in fact, how often they were at the exact time I needed somebody to stand with me or stand by me. A word of encouragement, a word of support, or just a word of belief.
Mm.
When I was thinking there's no way I can play college football at 57 years old, my body was hurting. I had a pelvic floor injury at one point. I had a stress fracture in my foot at another point. Now we've got this neck impingement and rotator cuff issue. But Guy always had a way of sending me a note randomly, seemingly randomly, at the exact moment I needed someone to say, I believe in you. So what's funny, buddy, is that what you don't realize is you changed my life.
Mm.
And you impacted my life in real and significant and profound ways. So it's interesting to me that how this can reciprocate, right? It doesn't have to be a one-way street believing in somebody. It can be a two-way street. And
Yeah.
it certainly has been a two-way street in our relationship and how you made a difference in my life.
Well, I think that says a lot, because I never would have thought that somebody like me would have an impact on you. Because, you know, from where I sit, I see somebody who's got all his shit together and who's successful, and I'm struggling, and it's like, how am I helping this person? But you just never know, right? And like I said, it says a lot to what we could be doing in the world. Just have it making those little gestures, because you never know what that ripple effect is going to cause, right? But yeah, so
Yeah,
you
and
definitely had an impact on me.
I think what you just said is one of the barriers that stops us from helping other people, right? Well, who am I? Who am I to help this person? Who am I to, what tools do I have? What, all you did was send me a random fucking text
Yeah.
of how much you appreciated me, how much you thought of me, kind words, and then that you believed in me.
Mm.
There were specific times that you said you believed that I could do it.
Right.
Now, I don't know what prompted those. Maybe you saw me post something where I was stumbling, or you saw me say something where I was struggling. I don't know what prompted those emails, or I'm sorry, those direct messages. But they were always at a time where I felt like I was alone, where I felt like I was journeying by myself. And then this random dude from Cranston, BC is sending me stuff about how he believes in me. And I'm thinking, okay, I can do this. So I just think it's an amazing example how any of us can be the voice of belief to another human being, regardless of our status, regardless of our bank account, regardless of our title, regardless of whatever.
Yeah.
We can literally change people's lives by just being supportive. And I swear to you, Guy, that's what you've been in my life over the last year and a half. You've been a voice of support, a voice of belief, and a voice of encouragement.
Wow. Well, that's great, because I guess then it's been reciprocated, because that's exactly how I feel about you. And you know, it's interesting because you're talking about the text and stuff, and I gotta say, like, there were days when I didn't want to send those texts, because in my head, the voices were telling me, "Oh, you're an ass kisser, you're a brown noser. Men don't compliment each other. You know, you're sucking up," shit like that, right? And I just had to say, "Well, no, like, fuck that. Like, we're a team, we're a community, we're supporting each other, and we have to embrace one another and lift each other up." So I sent the texts, and well, I'm happy that they were well received.
I can specifically remember a time where I was stuck in the Edmonton airport.
Mm.
And because of the way the flights and the cancellations and the like, I ended up sleeping in the Edmonton airport. And you sent me a note. And that note basically was a note of support, a note of appreciation, a note of you can do it. And in a moment where I was contemplating, what the fuck am I doing? All this stupidity. I get this note from this guy who believes in me, who honors me, who respects me. And I just thought, I can't let this guy down. I got to live up to this expectation that he has, positive expectation that he has. And it was a motivator. So I just, again, think it just reinforces that what you just said is so profound. We as men don't want to do it because we're afraid of the reaction.
Right.
Well, I'm glad that I can publicly thank you and send a message to all the men. Send your boy a note. Send your guy a note. Send that buddy of yours at work a note. Send that guy on the minor, adult hockey league team of yours a note. Or down in the States, the basketball team that you play on Thursday nights or whatever. We've got to make it acceptable. And I know for a fact, you have made a significant difference in my life. Significant. And all because you were willing to send a few texts.
Yeah.
And they just happened to land at the right time.
Yeah. So simple, but can make a big difference.
For sure.
So now that we journeyed together for a year and a half and we've become buddies, where do you see us moving forward, like with NGBN and stuff? Well, where are we going?
Well, so let's talk about NGBN. Now you have your show, Tripping Through Transformation, on NGBN. And I want to say to everybody, this guy has done such an amazing job. I said to him, hey, man, you have a story, you have a vision, you're an advocate for alternative medicines to help with depression, anxiety, PTSD, and so many other things. Why don't you do a show? And he was like, what the fuck? But you know what? I want everybody. You look at his graphics, you look at his posts on social media, you look what he's doing with the show. It's all coming out of his brain. He's doing it really well. And the transparent nature of the way that he's doing it, so we can all journey along with him, is truly tripping through his transformation. We get to watch vicariously as he moves through his transformation. It's very inspiring. And so your show, along with so many others, we're going to be launching NGBN Television Network on Roku and Apple TV, Amazon Fire, Android TV, and then mobile devices, both Apple and Android. On December 11th, we'll do the sneak peek launch, where we'll be live on all of those platforms with modified content. We're not going to have the continuous stream fully operational, but we'll have a continuous stream and then on-demand channels. The first television network in the history of the world dedicated to men in their 40s, 50s, and 60s. Meaningful information, tangible tools where men in their middle ages will be celebrated, where they'll be supported, where they'll be inspired, where they'll be educated, and where they'll be able to connect with one another. And then once we get NGBN up and rocking and rolling, which we will with you and all of the other amazing content creators, then you and I and others are going to rally around a psychedelic television network to talk about the incredible impact that these natural medicines are having on depression and anxiety, on PTSD, and so many other things. People are being miraculously impacted in a positive way. And so we want to be able to create a broadcast platform that tells the story of the power of those various alternative medicines.
Yeah, well, I'll do my best to put some of that information out there on my show. But
Sure.
I'm looking forward to the launch of NGBN. I think it's going to be big for, obviously providing support and information on mental health and things like that, but also to entertain, like you said, and educate and whatnot. So it's going to be huge.
Yeah. The one thing that everybody that has been watching NGBN from the outside, or if you're hearing about it for the first time, it's not a podcast network. It's not just a bunch of podcasts. It's a television network, live sports, live entertainment, of course, shows, but also documentaries and episodic content as well. Full-blown television network available on Roku, Apple TV, Amazon Fire, and the sneak peek starts December 11th.
Well, there you go. That's a pitch if I've ever heard one.
The sales pitch for sure.
All right. Well, we'll end there then. We'll take another quick break, and then we'll say our goodbyes.
This is NGBN TV, a network for men and home to top experts, speakers, authors, and more.
I'm Chris Rubio of The Rubio Method.
I'm Charles Wallace of the Bear Essentials Podcast.
This is Bud from the Sports Are Gibberish Podcast.
Streaming TV for men, created by men.
Hello, my name is Ian Hill, and I have the tremendous honor of being the CEO of NGBN.TV. We are so excited for you to join us on this journey, helping us build a television network for men in their 40s, 50s, and 60s.
I am NGBN.
I am NGBN.
I am NGBN.
I'm NGBN, and so are you.
Join our movement at NGBN.TV, coming January 2024.
Welcome back to Tripping Through Transformation. We're going to wrap things up here with Ian Hill. So, Ian, what's next for you? What's next on your plate?
Well, as we just said before the commercial break, we're going to be launching NGBN starting in December. And then personally, I was playing football at Antelope Valley College, getting ready for the first scrimmage and games. And then I had this injury. So I left the team to rehabilitate, which I'm doing now. My next big thing for the world record is the National Scouting Combine, which will be in Indianapolis, January 7th through the 9th. And then it's getting ready to play college football next season. Now, albeit I'll be 58 years old, going on 59. But I'll tell you this, and this is exciting, Gil, you'll appreciate this. I have been told by executives with the Edmonton Elks that they are going to let me try out for the Edmonton Elks at a tryout in the United States in February.
Yeah.
So that's exciting. So we got the National Scouting Combine, we got the tryout with the Edmonton Elks, and then a year from right now, I'll be playing college football. 2002, I tried out at the University of North Alabama, didn't make the team. 2003, I tried out for a college football team, made it, and at the time of my injury was the starting long snapper. And in 2024, we're going to try out, we're going to make it, and we're going to finish the season and be the oldest man to ever do it, to prove that all things are possible and that you can overcome your mental health issues and challenges and barriers and still go on to do great things.
Yeah, well, I've been watching your journey, and I have no doubts that you're going to make it. Thanks for stopping by on Tripping Through Transformation as our first guest. Thanks for the opportunity to interview you and get to know you a little bit better and share our story. I'm sure we haven't seen the last of you on this podcast and on the Psychedelic Network in the future.
Well, you know what, Guy? I want to congratulate you because this show is a prime example of how a person can take a vision and bring it to reality. We started talking about this show less than 100 days ago. And 100 days later, less than 100 days later, you've got a great show, you've got a great idea, and it's only going to get better. So I congratulate you and thank you for inspiring me and all of the rest of us.
Thank you so much, Ian. We'll see you around. Take care. So that was my interview with Ian Hill earlier today. I hope you guys enjoyed it as much as I did. In the excitement of it all, I forgot to ask Ian how you guys can find out more about him and his journey to become the oldest man to play NCAA football, to bring awareness to men's mental health and suicide rates. If you want to do that, if you want to find out more about him or support him on his journey, his website is seasontosavealife.org. So it's one word, seasontosavealife.org. And you can also find him on LinkedIn. You can find more about NGBN at ngbn.tv. And that's also where you can find all current and future episodes of Tripping Through Transformation. You can also find me on YouTube at Tripping Through Transformation, and on LinkedIn, just my name, Guillaume Poirier. Yeah, so that sums up as episode 2. Second step towards my 100th, right? Things are getting better. Things are slowly improving. That's just part of the learning process. And yeah, the podcast will get better. I'll get better. And hopefully you guys get something from this and you get better too. So until episode 3, you guys take care and I appreciate you. Take care. Bye.